Yo, what's up, guys? We're back to channel 4. Another reaction. Brian Burkheiser. For those of you that don't know by now, Brian is no longer the front man of the band over at I Prevail. You know, we don't really know the full details of why he left the band. I'm sure, you know, there's some speculation out there on that's, you know, dealing with, you know, mental health issues or like, you know, all those physical disabilities as well, especially with his voice. A couple years ago that he had surgery dealing with his, like, you know, vocal cords and stuff like that. So there could be a lot of, you know, speculation on why he left the band, or, you know, it could be a legal issue or something like that, or disagreement between the band. You know, it is what it is. Bands change every time. People come and go all the time, you know, getting new members in, old members leaving, stuff like that. So, you know, it is a sad thing to see, you know, one of your favorite band members eventually leaves one of your favorite bands, you know, and then they bring in some new guy in, or they don't replace him, and then they just don't sound the same after that. So, you know, it is a sad thing to see. Fortunately for us, you know, Brian is still making music. He just released a cover, he just released another Taylor Swift cover, Look What You Made Me Do. You know, we did react to that one when that dropped, so I don't know why he chose another Taylor Swift cover. I don't know why, if he's trying to capitalize on the very first one that made the band so popular, or just reminisced with him so much that he wanted to, you know, cover that song. I don't know, but, you know, it is kind of funny to see that he did do another Taylor Swift cover. But no, you never know what's gonna happen with your band, especially if you make a cover. You never know that one single song can blow your band up and make you go into the mainstream and become what it is today. But, you know, maybe that's what he was trying to do. Maybe he's trying to capitalize it on again. I don't know, or he just likes the song. But he has officially came out with a new band called Scatterbrain, and they just released the first single. So I'm excited. I'm hyped. I don't know if it's going to be as, you know, as reminiscent of old I Prevail. I don't know if it's going to be heavier. I don't know if it's going to be like he's going to keep that sort of like rap rocky kind of, you know, theme to him that I Prevail used to do from back in the day. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. But from judging from that new I Prevail cover, they did have those genty down-tuned riff guitars. They did play out a little bit, you know, sort of the heavy, you know, newer age metalcore sound. So, or it could just be Brian showing off his vocal cords yet again. We're just going to have to wait and see. But before we get started, be sure to go down, we appreciate it, and to really help me out. And if you like former I Prevail vocalist Brian as well, be sure to like on this video as well. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by, checking out some awesome music. We're just getting started on these heavy bangers. Ladies and gentlemen, no time wasted. Let's get right into it. This is Scatterbrain's newest release track titled Phases. My name is Brian. Hi Brian, I'm Chris. 12 years ago I started a band. It became a huge success. Probably I Prevail. But it came with a price. This is his story. These are my phases. Oh, so we're getting like a life story from him? Okay. I've always had no real plan for my life until I discovered I could sing. Same, Brian. Guess we're in the same boat here. So I dropped out to chase my dream. Is that single? Oh, we're getting a full life story here. Okay. I'm more on like the, you know, pop kind of like R&B section. So that's like his vocal, you know, surgery he had to get on with. Oh man, that must be sucked. Not being able to sing anymore, you know, especially that was what you so loved to do. Let's go, Brian. Things are looking up. I've been on my own. Little genty chords. Oh, Brian's a daddy! I didn't know that. Oh, all those genty vibes, though. False narratives. I wonder what they were saying about my boy. Wonder what happened. I've been on my own, going through some changes. I'm not gonna lie, been going through some babies. Not gonna lie, boys, man. After all your surgeries, after all your trauma, still have an amazing voice. Right the start, but you control the ending. Now I'm gone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, wow, what a slapper. Like I said, like he's just trying to tell his whole life story, man. He's trying to tell, wait, hold on, I didn't really catch what it said. I hope my story inspires you to share yours. Man, I feel inspired, man. Brian, you're an amazing dude. You're an amazing guy. After all your hardships, after all the stuff you've been through, man, you know, why not show and tell us after everything you've been through? Show us the real you. Show us the reasons why everything has happened, man. And I can admire that, man. I could definitely admire that, especially, man, even if you don't like the guy, even if you don't think he's the best kind of singer, if you don't really like I Prevail too much, you know, from back in the day, man, you can't deny that this guy has gone through hell and came back, you know, numerous times, especially with that, you know, pain and vocal, you know, diagnosis he's had with his vocal cords and his, you know, voice and stuff like that, almost losing his voice at that as well. You know, I could only imagine what pain he could feel like. You know, he probably couldn't even talk normally without feeling intense pain. So, you know, I can definitely feel for that, especially for being a singer and touring, you know, nonstop and having to force yourself to sing through that pain, man. That can get tough. I could definitely get tough, man. I could definitely see why that could be a reason why, you know, he left the band, you know, especially after taking so much time off, you know, and having to keep the cycle going, keep the tours going, keep the music going, keep, you know, the fans happy and keep all these labels happy as well. I could definitely see that can be a, you know, stressful and, you know, intense thing, you know, not having time fully, you know, time to recover from that, you know, disease or whatever he had. You know, hopefully he doesn't have it now. Hopefully they got rid of that. Hopefully he's still, you know, recovering from that. You know, hopefully it doesn't come back as well. So, but either way, man, what an inspiring story. What a crazy story. Like I said, you know, I'm sort of in that, you know, boat right now, to me personally, you know, from especially in his, like, you know, early days, you know, not figuring out what you want to do in life, you know, trying to figure, like, you know, your own path, your own. I could definitely put myself in his shoes on his younger days, you know, especially going to, like, you know, going to school, then dropping out, and then figuring out, like, what you want to do with your life. You know, for me personally, I did go through college. I graduated. Fortunately, I haven't really landed, you know, what I personally wanted to do, and then I'm sort of struggling to find what I actually want to do, because I don't really want to do what I went to school for anymore. So, you know, it is, you know, one of those, you know, tough decisions you have to have with yourself, figuring out what you want to do. I mean, I know what I want to do, but, you know, it is, like, you know, that stepping stone, that point to get there is the hardest part, you know, for me. But I'm like, you know, and after sitting in that sort of dark void as well, you know, not knowing what I wanted to do, and maybe want to do this, and maybe want to, you know, share my passion for, you know, music with the world, and share my own thoughts and my own opinions on these new songs and tracks, instead of just, you know, listening to these new tracks on my own. You know, I wanted to share this, you know, my own opinions with the world and with you guys who are watching these videos. So I do appreciate that, and appreciate this channel. You know, personally, I didn't think this channel would get up to as high as it was. You know, I thought this was just going to be, like, you know, a side thing. You know, it wasn't going to get off, it wasn't going to go anywhere, but so far, slow and steady, we're getting higher and higher thanks to you guys. And I just love for you guys to come back and checking out this awesome music with me, checking out these new music with me from all these new bands as well that you guys have recommended me, that I would have never heard of before if it wasn't for this channel. So I do appreciate you guys, and thank you guys for that as well. But not only reacting to music, you know, I definitely love writing my own music as well. I love singing also. I want to share my own some, original music with you guys, and this is definitely the platform to do that as well. So just a little sneak peek here. Be sure to stay tuned for some new music, original music coming your way fairly soon. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But other than that, man, back to the track here. It's a very emotional, heavy song. I could definitely sense that he just wanted to share his story, his true words to the story. We didn't really get too much of detail on why he left the band. We didn't really get too much detail on like what caused Brian to step away from My Prevail. But he did share a lot about his surgeries, his health and stuff like that. So we did get some of that's also been quite like fuzzy if you don't know the true story. But I didn't know he had a baby though. I didn't know Brian was a daddy and married at that. I didn't know. I thought he had he had somebody, but I didn't know he was like a full on dad. Starting a full on family sort of thing. That can also be a stressful thing as well if you're wanting to create music, if you're wanting to tour, but you have to leave your family. You got to leave your newborn baby at home. That can definitely be a hard thing to do, to step away from that, and just be the showman that you have to be. But either way, man, life is hard. If you choose this path, if you choose this wanting to be a performer and an entertainer, you got to sacrifice certain things. You got to sacrifice the time. You got to sacrifice, but if you don't see yourself doing anything else, if you don't see yourself, trying something new other than music and stuff like that, then what do you have to lose at that point, in my opinion, which is, hopefully I can get there one day myself. But, it is what it is. It is a hard thing to do, to climb that ladder of popularity, to get your music out there, to get noticed as well, but it is, a hard thing to do. But if you can pull it off, it is worthwhile in the end, at least for me, I would say. If you guys are struggling out there, to find your own personal path in life, if you're trying to struggle to find out, what you should do to propel you into that future that you want to have, just stick to your dreams, stick to what makes you happy, and just keep going at it, keep striving for it, man. That's what I've been doing here every single day, making these videos for you guys and creating these, music to hopefully share for you guys and see what you guys think about that. Your dreams will always stay dreams if you don't put in that effort to get to that point that you want to be at, if that makes sense. Because if you stay stuck, in this certain, if you're not doing anything with your life, you're wasting every day after day, not chasing what you want to do. And sorry to say that you will never eventually get there. You got to put in that effort. You got to put in that drive. You got to put in that motivation to get you to where you want to be. And you're going to be stuck in that hole that you don't want to be in, and just wish that you done more, wish you tried harder, and just wish you wanted, and you will always, wonder what could have been if you don't put in that effort. But like I said, just seeing this kind of video just makes me want to push myself even harder, try harder, to get my music out there, get my opinions out there, get my videos out there for you guys to watch. If some of you don't like them, it is what it is. But I just like to be entertaining for you guys. I like to share my own thoughts and opinions, like I said, and listen to new music together. Just the whole metal community just feels like one big family to me, if that makes sense, because we're just all trying to get together, just jam out to some good music, and just just enjoy life together while headbanging our heads off in the pits, but we're listening to some damn good music, let me just say. But either way, the song side of things, it's very simple, very, it's very emotional, like I said, very R&B-ish, very poppy, especially with Brian's, vocals, his voice sort of things. He's always done that sort of thing. He's always done that clean sort of things, mixed with the rap sort of thing. But we got some gents in there, we got some grooves in there. Wish they did a little bit more on the guitar sort of things, because for me personally, Brian, we all know you can sing, but I want to hear like those guitars. I want to hear those instruments. I want to hear what makes Scatterbrain, because I know this is just the first one, but I want to hear more of the instruments. I want to hear more of the guitar sort of thing. I want to hear what makes you guys different from all the mainstream metal bands and stuff like that. I want to hear the tones. I want to hear the deepness. I want to hear those. Maybe we get some little breakdown action in there and some of these other tracks. I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen. But we're gonna keep an eye on these guys. We're gonna keep an eye on Brian as well, because maybe he might do some other side projects also, or if he's just focusing full-heartedly on this new band. I don't know. It's gonna have to wait and see. But be sure to hit that subscribe button, especially new here, who's going through every single bang on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to miss out on a single one. Guarantee that. And I'll see you guys in the next one.